Hi guys, today I'm going to do a video about Nasser El Sonbaty, top level pro from 1990 until the early 2000s. As you know, I'm sure majority of you would be aware that Nasser passed away on March 20, 2013 at the age of 47. I won't go into discussion regarding the possible cause of death such as steroid abuse, etc. You can find that stuff on other forums. Now, Nasser was well educated, knew several languages, and was quite often seen wearing his glasses. They always looked really awkward on his head because he's such a huge man and he had these sort of small John Lennon-y type glasses. Now, I think the combination of all those points probably led to his nickname, the Professor. Another nickname he had, which was less kind, was the Walking Pharmacy. Contest history: Nasser competed in over 50 professional shows during his career. He finished in the top 3 an amazing 30 times out of 50, which is a really good percentage. He won 6 pro shows, including one Arnold in 1999, and came a very controversial second at the 1997 Mr. Olympia to Dorian Yates. More on that later. And you'll see a stack of photos I'm using in this video today, which from that contest, because that was when he was, to me, in his best ever shape. Physique critique. Now, his body changed significantly over his career. He started off with a fairly streamlined, ripped physique early on, and then towards the end of his career, things didn't really go so well. He started to look quite bloated, and it was quite obvious that there was some oil enhancement. So I'll focus my critique entirely on his mid to late 90s version, where I think he was at his best and most threatening. He was one of the biggest guys of his time, weighing in at 270, 280 plus at times in contest shape. He's a really strong guy too, from the photo shoots that I saw, and that presented a really dense, powerful type of physique. His legs were outstanding, really. Quads were really fully developed, had a really good, excellent outer sweep to them, good teardrop. Calves were really large and impressive and balanced well with his quads. Hamstrings were very good from the side, good separation between the quads and hammies in those side poses. At his best, his abs were really spot on. For a big guy, for that size, he presented, a tight, flat, defined waist, which really gave him a really good taper because his shoulder width was really huge. He had a really good chest, good shape to it. I really liked it when he was more or less relaxed. I think he had a really good square chest, if you know what I mean. Looked really good, and even when he had elevated arm poses, his chest was still really impressive. You could see the thickness quite easily. His shoulders were just boulders, really. They were huge, and they were really thick, round, detailed through all the heads. In most muscular poses, I think that really emphasised them the most, and you could just see the density of them. His biceps were full, had a great peak. His front double biceps, to me, is one of my favourite poses of all time for someone to do when he did his. I hope that made sense. I sort of confused myself when I was saying it. His front double biceps was one of the best I've ever seen. That's a bit better. He had the tight waist, he had the thick, wide lats and the great arm combination, and everything seemed to tie in really beautifully together. At his peak, there really wasn't a weak body part or pose of Nasser's from the front or side. From the rear, wasn't quite as impressive. The muscle was all there. His back was wide, thick. His lats didn't insert as deep as someone like Yates, but they weren't high either. His hammies and glutes were clearly developed, but he never seemed to dial his condition into the same level as he did to his front. There just seemed to be a small film of water that washed out detail in his back and lower body, and that cost him, I think, in some contests. Now, as I stated before, Nasser came second at the 1997 Mr. Olympia to Dorian Yates, and this was a very controversial loss. Maybe one of the most controversial Olympia decisions, because Dorian was so far from his best. His stomach was not tight, his injuries were accumulating and becoming even more obvious. His left bicep was pretty much non-existent at this point. From the front, Nasser had him on every pose for me. And the argument at the time was Dorian beat him from the back. And look, clearly Dorian was superior to Nasser from the back, but the difference wasn't as clear cut or as obvious as they were as the front poses, where Nasser was really dominant. And even the most hardcore of Yates supporters, and I'm definitely one of them, would agree that Nasser was better at the show and should have won. Now, I don't usually make such, definitive statements. I usually, sort of sit on the fence a little bit, but this was clear cut. Probably more difficult to comprehend as well was that Dorian ended up with a perfect scorecard, and Nasser ended up becoming one of those stars that will be called an uncrowned Mr. Olympia, and very fairly so in this case here. What's tainted me a little bit about my memory of Nasser is what I think is unnecessary reputation bashing of some of the pros of his time, Sasev, however you say it, and Greg Kovacs, rest in peace. I think some really smart guys seem to lack a little bit of diplomacy, and I think sometimes he said things straight and not really thinking of how that came across. Anyway, look, I don't want to, be hard on a guy that's passed away. And as a bodybuilder, look, there was no argument. This guy's one of the greats of his era. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. See ya.